Welcome, guys.
Yeah, welcome back.
We're going to be in chapter 10.
Yep, we had picking up where we left off yesterday, or last week. Not yesterday. Yeah, we're learning.
We're learning. And thanks for just hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get to see you guys in person someday. I don't know. But keep praying for us. And so, chapter 10, read it so we can get started.
Yep.
Verse 21?
Yeah.
Yes. Verse 21. So, this is where Jesus is talking about a brother will deliver up a brother to death, and a father his child, and the children will raise against parents and cause them to be put to death. That's a really hard verse to read there, right? Like it's like there's a lot here because out of context, this is extremely scary. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and like he's just talking about like families just tearing apart, and you would think Jesus is about love and bringing families together.
Yeah.
But this is not Jesus's work that he's talking about. This is not his own thing. That he's telling them to go do these things, to preach the gospel. But he's telling them, while you do this is probably going to happen. There's a good chance that this is going to happen. Be prepared for this.
Yeah.
And don't let these things take your attention off of me.
Yes.
Like, this will happen. This can happen. And during that time, you just got to know and trust that I do continue to do what I'm calling you to do.
Yeah.
Because that fear of these things is not what you need to be focused on.
Right. He's just, I think it's like you said, it's the, he's guiding them kind of like the sheep, right? The sheep follows the shepherd. And so what God is doing is guiding his disciples, like, hey, and telling them all the truth. Like, you will be persecuted, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that because I'm telling you that it's going to happen. It can happen. But always focus on me.
We know at the end that it does happen.
It does happen.
Most of the apostles were killed.
Right. And, even as simple as now as Christians, we see that a lot. A lot of times we fear speaking up about Jesus or telling people about Jesus because the fear of persecution, because we know that exists.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that fear, because we know it's not true, but because it's true, there is guideline. There's things.
We know, as he's saying, like if these things, like if that persecution does exist, don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it.
It can happen, and it can happen. It will happen, and that's not. This life is
Don't be
temporary.
surprised by it. Don't be surprised by it, but focus on Jesus. Focus on the purpose that he's put in your life, and just go forward. And if you fear, it's okay. Acknowledge that. Ask God to help you. That's why he's there. He's always there to guide you, to help you when you are fearful.
Yeah, I wrote down here, Jesus is basically letting the apostles know that some crazy, hard times and horrors are ahead. But he highlights not to be in fear. Fear can cause failure of discipleship. Jesus gives the disciples power and authority, but denies them money and protection, and even extra clothes. They are to undertake their mission in complete vulnerability and dependence of God. I think that first thing I wrote there was that fear can cause failure of discipleship. And that's why he's so focused on this fear, is don't fear men and don't fear these things. Where does he say it? I think later on he says fear, I think it's right at the very end, right? Fear, don't fear who. Okay, there you go. Yes, it's actually right in the same period here. 28. And don't fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about Satan.
No.
He's talking about God.
Right.
He's got the ability to annihilate.
Yep.
All.
And he says, "Do not fear those who kill the body."
Because we can get tortured, and I mean, even Jesus, he was killed on the cross.
He was killed on the cross, yeah.
But they can't kill his soul. They can't kill his spirit. And look at what he was able to accomplish for us.
Yeah.
Through his death.
Right.
Yeah. So Jesus gives a warning or explanation of all the bad things that can happen, but with statements of reassurance and repeated calls to resist fear. Do not fear.
Do not fear.
Do not fear.
Because when you hear that, do not fear,
It even says right here, it says verse 26. Therefore, do not fear them.
Do not fear them. Yep. Do not fear what they fear. I guess.
Yep.
Do not fear them. Them is everyone that's not God, right? Only
Man.
fear God.
Yep.
Fear God. And I always think about that. I always kind of sometimes fight against that fear because, you hear God said, don't fear. Do not fear. But I think he is talking about two different fears here. He's talking about the reverent fear, which can save your life. That's when you fear God. When you fear God, there's a reverence, right? There's revere. You respect him.
Mm-hmm.
You do the things so because you fear of him in a respectful way. And there's the fear that will bring you to death.
Yep. It's to make it like a layman's terms or like extremely simple. Power tools. Right? Some people are afraid to use power tools. Like you, would you go out there and go turn on the big saw and start cutting wood?
No.
Or are you afraid to do that?
I'm afraid to do that.
Okay, I'm not afraid to use it, but I know how to use it correctly and respectfully, and I know the damage it can cause if I don't do it.
Wow.
If I don't do that right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's with almost all power tools, right?
And it's kind of like the respect of the tools and the respect of the.
You know what to fear. Like I fear the blade on that saw.
Yeah.
But I know how to use it properly and to avoid getting injury.
Yeah.
Right. So that I don't fear the tool, but I have respect of it.
Yeah.
I know that that's kind of a really dumbed down way of explaining what Jesus is talking about here.
And God's guiding you.
Yeah.
That fear is the fear of the Lord's the beginning of all wisdom. And so that's what it is. He's showing you when you fear God, he shows you what's to come and what's to expect, but don't fear them.
Yep.
He's showing you so that you can be prepared.
Makes
And you
sense.
always look into God and be like, okay, this is going to happen. I don't have to worry because you've planned everything out
Yep.
and you have a promise.
Yeah, it'd be like me giving you, or you going to a class on how to use the power tools.
Yeah.
Once you figure out, once you get the instruction, it makes sense, and then you could use that without being in fear.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because God's doing all that for us.
Yes. Thank you,
on,
Lord.
On a major
This is our life.
spiritual level.
This is a spiritual.
And not
this
even
is
our life, as our walk with Him after.
Yeah.
And not for us, but for His glory.
Yes, and it's not just us, it's the people around us. If we know that the hell exists, why do we not want people to know Jesus? And we know with all our hearts that to get to heaven is through Jesus.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that and love people that way. We have to love them in a way that we don't want them to go to hell. Like, hey, I don't want anyone to go to hell.
Yeah.
I want them to know Jesus. And so that's the only way through heaven,
Yeah.
to heaven. So
And we need to set examples and have people question as to like what's making you the way you are. Like
yeah,
why,
exactly. It's the light of the world.
Exactly.
They start
And,
questioning
and when
you.
that questions come up, we need to not be afraid to answer them.
Yes.
Honestly.
Which goes to our next
Oh,
topic.
was it a segue?
Yes. Wow, that's kind of neat. Thank
Yeah.
you, Lord. Confess Christ before men.
Yep.
I'll read it. Therefore, whoever confesses me before men, I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, him I will also deny before the Father who is in heaven. Do you have anything additional to that?
Yeah,
32.
I think I skipped a paragraph or something because my notes aren't lined up with what we just read here. Where's that at?
Chapter 10 is a really good chapter, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because there's a lot of here about discipling and what God is. This is pretty much what he's talking to the disciples directly. This is not. We know for sure that he's talking to his 12.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is important, like he's telling them. So what is the discipling from Jesus is your disciple? I mean your master. So he's telling this 12 what is to be expected and what he wants them to do. And so it's I like this because then if you want to be a disciple of Christ, you kind of begin to learn like, hey, this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's warned us. He's shown us what's going to happen, you know?
Yep. just for the sake of it, because I wrote my notes in this order here. I don't remember where does it say like a disciple is above his teacher?
Oh, that's before. That one is in chapter.
Oh, so we got ahead of my notes is what happened here. Okay, so I see. Oh yeah, so yeah, I got ahead of my notes.
Oh, okay.
I'm like I'm so lost. So I wanted to, this hit me kind of hard, and it makes a lot of sense because at first I'm like I read this paragraph like a couple times. You've quoted it a few times in other conversations that we've had. I don't believe on this podcast, but just in normal life.
Chapter 10:24, correct? A disciple is not above his teacher.
So, my notes here, I wrote, a disciple is not above his teacher. To this means his disciples should not expect better treatment than he has received. They, Israel, called Jesus Beelzebub. I want you to read Mark 3:22.
Mark, say that paragraph again.
A disciple is not above his teacher, to mean that his disciples should not expect better treatment than he has received. They, Israel, called Jesus Beelzebub.
Okay.
Mark 3:22.
Mark 3:22. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, "He has Beelzebub, and by the ruler of demons he casts out demons."
And then Matthew 10:25-26.
Matthew
10:25-26. Matthew 10.
It is enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher, called servant, and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they call those of his household?
And then, 26.
26. Therefore, do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known.
Yeah. That's what he's saying here. We're back to 10. Was that they called the master of the house Beelzebub, and then in Mark 3:22, that's the proof of them calling him Beelzebub.
Yeah. What is that? What's the Beelzebub?
Beelzebub. Most Greek manuscripts read Beelzebub, which is probably the right form of this word. The other readings probably came from. The Old Testament world. Baal, Beelzebub, an idol, the god of Ekron. All idolatry was regarded as devil worship. So there it seems to have been something particularly satanic about the worship and hate of this hateful god, which caused his name to be a synonym of Satan. Though we nowhere read that Jesus was actually called Beelzebub, he was charged with being in league with Satan under that hateful name, and more than once was charged with being possessed by an unclean spirit or a demon.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, Beelzebub is just basically like a synonym for Satan.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying here. And so that's what they're saying, that Jesus, because they're trying to saying that he's casting out demons because he's demon possessed himself, or that he's working for Beelzebub.
Oh, yeah. So don't expect to be
treated any better than your master, because that's what he's saying by a disciple is not above his teacher. I'm like, so we talked about this before. It was like, and I never really could quite put my finger on what that was meaning and how he was saying that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so if they're going to say that Jesus is Beelzebub,
they're
going to say that you work for
him.
Yeah,
the follower of Jesus.
So then you're you too. You know? So expect that.
Oh man, that's a good one.
Yeah, so I wanted to get that because I thought that hit me kind of hard. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then now we're back to where you were talking about. Whatever I say in the light, preach it. So whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, and whatever you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops, in the light and on the rooftops. For the gospel proclaimed and lived is the most powerful tool at the disciples' disposal against the powers of this world.
Yeah. That's why it's like. Can we repeat that again?
Yeah. In the light and on the rooftops.
Uh-huh.
Right? The gospel proclaimed and lived is the most powerful tool at the disciples' disposal against the powers of this world.
Man, you said proclaimed and lived.
Yep.
It's like not just to say it, but to live
that way.
To live that way.
Yeah, love people. Don't have hatred.
Yeah. The fruit of the Spirit. You know, a true follower of Jesus is by the fruit of the fruit that they. what
Yeah.
in their lives, you know.
Just That's,
And
and,
so-
that's, and I think I mentioned something like that earlier. Like people we ask you like, what makes you this way? How are
It's
you?
like, there's something about you.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
something about you that's different.
and they see that. They'll see that. and
They'll
that's,
see that. Yeah.
That's what he's saying right here.
Yeah, lived. I love that. The gospel preached and lived is the most powerful tool.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And the thing is, though, like Pastor Don was saying today, is that how do you get to know Jesus and his heart and that he loves you? Yes,
By his word.
By his word, his love letter, which is right here. This is his love letter. He's showing you everything that you need to know, right? Like he will show you. Let's go back, and it says here on 10:26. Therefore, do not fear them, for there's nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. Everything will be revealed to us. You will know how deep and wide God's love for you when you read the word, when
Yep.
you spend time with him daily. You know, I know in my life, Robbie can attest to this, and when I get into moments of depression a lot. I suffer from anxiety, and I don't really like saying that though. I don't suffer because God's always with me.
You have moments of anxiety.
I have
and
moments
you have moments
of anxiety
of depression.
and depression, and God, I know for sure if I dwell in that, it takes me so long to snap out of it, and to snap out of it is by reading the word. And when I spend time in the word, I know that it goes away, and the peace that transcends all understanding is upon me. So now I always, like most of the time, not always, most of the time when I start to feel anxiety and anxiousness, I open the word already.
Yeah, she
And
carries like 3 Bibles with her everywhere she goes.
I do carry like different Bibles with me. A tiny Bible, a big Bible. I even like
A study
right now-
Bible.
Yeah.
She's got another Bible that's like half. You know how usually most Bibles have 2 columns, and you
Yeah.
read like one column and then another column, and then you have like basically it's 4. She's got a Bible that's 1 column and then 1 empty column that she can write all her notes in. Too.
Yes. And so it's important to me to really be in the word daily, every hour. So when I start to feel anxious or whatever it is that it's not, I know that's not of God, that doesn't bring me peace, I automatically now I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to read. Even to just like open the Bible and just start to read whatever it is. I just start to read and get to know
Just
Jesus.
a random page and a
Random
sentence.
page. Or sometimes I'll ask him, like, Lord, what is it that you want me to read about? And then he'll tell me. Or a lot of times just opening the Bible and starting wherever.
I got a question. How does he tell you?
How does he tell me?
Do you just get like a number in your head, or do you?
Yeah, sometimes he gives me a Bible verse, and I'll go over there. Like that one time, I said, God is showing me a Bible verse. I'm like, what is
the
that?
Psalms 23, I think it was.
Yeah, and then I'll go read that. Or sometimes by just reading the word, he'll open it up to me, and I start to learn from it. Or sometimes when I talk to you, you'll tell me a Bible verse, and I go over there and I start reading it. And that's how. And I know that by reading the word, reading the Bible now on a daily basis, now even by God will show me the words without even looking at the Bible, because I start to memorize them. So like the words will start popping in my head,
Okay.
and it's just an assurance
Yeah.
of the things.
And then you go look that up.
And I look it up, and I'll start reading it more just to create a good foundation with
Yeah.
me, because also Satan can talk to you. You know, so I always go back to the word. I'm like, okay, well.
You know, what's kind of cool with today's technology is like that'll happen to me sometimes, where I'll get like a part of a verse. I'm not as good at memorizing as you are, but I'll get a part of a verse, or maybe even a whole verse in my head, but I'm like, well, I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
But with today's technology, you just go to Google, type that in, and then it'll tell you which part, where to find it in the Bible. And then it's easy to open the Bible, go to that spot, and go find it.
But the thing with that, I was kind of like, I usually don't read. I mean, I usually don't bring my Bible to church when we go on Sundays. I started doing that. Not that I don't trust Pastor Don. Like, he's such a great leader for our church. But also, it's important to know that it really is from the Bible.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing, is I will do that but I don't like using my phone as the Bible.
Yes.
I will do that to find the where
Bible
to find
verse.
it, and then I'll go in the Bible
Yes.
and do it that way.
Especially now, it's how
Yeah.
crazy. Like we were talking about. I was listening to something, and they were saying that they were starting to make AI create a Bible.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so it's important to really have that in your hand, because with the technology, you can go and just research it,
Yeah.
go to Google, and it can give you,
There's a bunch
give
of
you a false verse.
So you could look up anything and have any direction
Yes.
of what you're looking for.
And so it's
but
important
yeah, I
to
like-
have the book
yeah,
in front of
yeah,
you.
Trusted
And
publisher.
Yes.
Uh,
That's why now I'm like collecting Bibles. So if you guys didn't know, because of
And we have
that-
some. You want some? Let
yes,
us know.
if you want some, we have a lot of Bibles. Please reach out to us, because it is important. We do believe it's important to read it for yourself. Don't
Yep.
just go and believe everything someone tells you. Read the word for yourself.
Yep.
And it's important to have it physically. Now that with the technology, you have to have this, because in the internet, things can change.
Yeah.
You know, people can edit the way they want to. And so that's important. Do you want to finish this up, or do you?
Let's just finish it up. We're almost there, and
Yeah.
we could record our outros or whatever if you need to split
Okay.
it up.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So where we at? We're at. Wait. I'm okay. All right. So I'm just gonna start off my notes here. So I gotta figure out where this is though. Where's it talk about the what you said about
I tell you in the dark.
no. He who loves father more than me, but does not take his cross and follow me, loses life.
Hidden that will not be known.
He who receives me. Oh, that's the end right there. Whoever confesses, there it is. Whoever confesses me before man, now confess before my Father. So, yeah. So then I think we're in verse 32 now, back to where I got lost. Now I got lost again.
Yeah.
But that's because I was trying to figure this out. Okay, so yeah, so now for the rest of this right here, 32 and down, it's talking about whoever confesses me before men, I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven. And then it talks about, don't think that I've come to bring peace on earth, but I did not come to bring peace but a sword. For I have come to set man against his father, daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household. A couple things here. One is that where he said the denial and the confessions and stuff. I wrote down that our salvation is paid for, but our actions in this life will be judged. To refuse to speak up for Christ because of intimidation or persecution will result in believers' loss of reward and consequent loss of glory in the kingdom.
Wow.
I don't take that as our salvation is lost, because
No.
we can't lose our salvation.
I
That's
believe
paid
that.
for.
I believe that for sure.
So that when Jesus is saying that whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father, he's not talking about salvation. Mm-hmm. He's talking about our rewards and our consequent loss of glory.
Yeah.
I think that's how I take that.
Yeah. And I think we can't. It's so hard to grasp that wholeness of that
Yeah.
word is getting our glory, right?
Yeah.
Because like I can't even explain it. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is. What
our
is,
treasures in heaven?
Yeah. What is? We can speculate. We can guess. We can talk about it.
I like trucks and Jeeps.
Yeah.
Are they going to have some really cool trucks and Jeeps for me to drive around if I do good? You know.
Yeah, but you didn't, so you're gonna have only one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you can't.
But it's like, also that can't be our motivation either. I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's so easy to get hung up on. I have to do these right things so that I can be rewarded.
Exactly.
If that's your thought process, that's just as bad as not doing anything.
Exactly.
We can't be doing these things for our sake.
Yes.
I can't be
for selfish reason or anything. I always just go back to who is the greatest glory, the greatest gift we could ever get when we go to heaven? Is being with Jesus.
I think it's that ticket paid, our entrance fee.
Yeah,
That's the greatest gift.
The greatest gift is being with our Father in heaven.
Yeah.
Just being in His presence. That's the present.
Yeah.
Is being in His presence.
Well, the thing about it too, because on earth, Moses, we wanted a glimpse of God.
Yeah.
Right? And he had to turn his back.
Right.
And God walked by in passing, and that was so powerful that when Moses came down, he was glowing, and it was hard for the people to look at Moses.
You had to cover up.
Yeah, who didn't even look at God. He just got past. He walked behind him.
Yeah.
He saw a movement in his peripheral.
Yeah.
It's so we are going to be able to be in the presence of God without that.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And so that's what I always like when I'm reminded of things. I'm like, especially. It's so easy to look away when things are bad, right? Because why am I experiencing things? But when we always remember, we get to see the glory of God in the future.
Yep.
That's our future, is being in the presence of the Lord. That's the greatest gift. And so I'm excited. So when he's talking about this, if you don't, what did it say? If you don't confess, if you deny me before men, I will deny before my Father. It's like, because you don't get to see the glory in heaven. I'm like, I don't know that. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I don't know what is entailed. Yeah, you can speculate. But
we do know it's good.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
I know it's so good, so I'm excited about it.
So after that denial, if you deny me, then I will deny you. He talks about the mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law, father against son, brother against brother. He who loves the father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves the son and daughter more than me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loves his life for my sake will find it. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. The sayings I wrote down here, this is my notes, is that the sayings in 10:32-39 encourage the disciples to remain firm in their commitment to Jesus and their mission. Even when it generates conflict, even within their own families.
Right?
Right?
It's kind of funny how that... Okay, guys. This is maybe few... 30 minutes ago, I had a fit. That's why if you can't really see the...
She's going to edit out a lot of it, but...
I'm going to edit a lot of it, but...
You'll see some breaks in our podcast.
In our podcast. We're trying to make it so that we can just talk for 30 minutes without editing, but I was so annoyed and everything, and I just almost gave up, right, Robbie? I was just like, whatever. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this podcast anymore. And Robbie's like patiently.
Like, what happened?
I just got so frustrated, and that's what he's saying here. It's like, don't. Can you say what you said?
I said the sayings in 10:32-39, which is the whole mother against daughter and son against father. Jesus is encouraging the disciples to remain firm in their commitment to Jesus and their mission, even when it generates conflict, even within their own families.
Yes. And so that conflict between Rob and I, it can't stop the ministry. We have to keep going. That's what you told me. You were like...
And I said, do you want to continue? Want to start this over? And she's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm like, we kind of have to. We should. What did I say?
No, you were just like, we need to. This is important. We have to do this because it's important.
You make me sound good.
Because that's what you said. I'm not like paraphrasing. That's what you told me, and that's why it hit me. And I was like, you're right. We can have this conflict between me and you, but that shouldn't stop us from going forward and committing ourselves to what the Lord has called us to do.
Yeah.
And so even if there's conflict in your own family,
don't be discouraged.
Don't be discouraged.
Your family conflict is not more important than your relationship and commitment to Jesus Christ.
Yes,
basically,
amen.
That's exactly what he's saying right there.
Amen.
So, which is what on my commentary in the book, it says, To the disappointment of many Christians, it is often the closest to us that reject him and the message, even to the point of betrayal. And Jesus himself was betrayed by Judas and denied by Peter.
Yeah.
So that's like,
Whew.
yeah. So we always think of like Judas as the one that betrayed him, right?
Yeah.
It's like every time that Judas is mentioned, for the most part,
Yeah.
it's mentioned that Judas the one that betrayed him. But we
yeah.
also got to remember that Peter denied him.
Yes, and
Peter's like one of the closest, if not
yes.
the most important apostle that we.
And he's the one that, Lord, this I will not.
Yeah.
I will always love you, And
Yeah.
God's like, no, you.
So that's the end of my notes, but I know there's a little bit here left. So.
Just to conclude this discipleship, disciples, I think it is important to really get plugged in your church, get discipled,
Yep.
by the pastors, whoever it is that you feel is very close to God. I feel they can teach you something. I think it's important to be part of that.
Yeah, I think and then small family, family life groups of your peers. Just get tied into some people and and have especially little Bible studies,
like a home.
At home groups. It's very important, I think.
I think it encourages you to go out there, because I feel like learning about discipling and disciples, for me right now, there's two people. There are believers. We're all believers of Jesus, right? If you're a Christian, but there's also disciples who becomes apostles. So being a believer of Christ, you can just not do anything else. You can just believe and you're saved. You can believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord. There's no more requirements as far as that goes. As far as your salvation goes. We can't earn. As far as salvation, there's nothing else you can do less or more to earn that salvation. When you accept Jesus in your heart, that's it. You are saved. You're covered.
Yep.
But when you want to go above and beyond for Christ, then you become his disciples.
Yeah.
You become apostles, right?
Yeah,
you
but
learn.
you have to keep your heart pure, though.
Exactly.
You can't be doing that for your own gain.
No,
you can't be doing that to build favor with God.
No,
you're doing it because you're just doing God's work. God
because
lives
you love
in you.
him,
You want to do
and
it.
he loves, and the love of Christ has changed you.
Yeah.
So why not go out there and do his? You are like what was Pastor saying, like you're his legs, his arms, his feet.
Yep.
Go out there and do his work.
He said, I think that Jesus doesn't walk the world today, but we walk the world, and he walks in us.
And so that's our next step, is to bring the word
Yep.
to the world. That's the greatest commission. And so, and that's what it's about. Read the Bible, guys. It's like, I've been Christian since I was 16. I got saved. I'm almost 40, and only recently. I'm good at 40. And because of Jesus, I'm very confident at 40 because of Jesus, not in my own. But anyways, segue, right? But not until, just recently that Robbie and I read the whole Bible together. Yeah. So we're in our second year of reading this Bible, and how much it's changed us. Don't you think? Like, it changed us. It's so important not just to listen to podcasts, not just to listen to us, but really open the Word and really spend time with Jesus.
Yeah, you can go to church every Sunday, but if you're not reading the Bible, you're not going to quite get all of it.
The purpose, yeah. And so, all right, guys, we don't want to keep going.
I do 1 second.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just because we're talking about 40, verse 40 and on is just the end of it. He's talking about he who receives me and who receives he who sent me, and Jesus is saying that the people that receive the message are going to be blessed. Whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple, assuredly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. It's just everybody that receives the messages from the disciples are going to be, that's a good thing. So that's what needs to happen. And he's saying all these bad, negative,
It's not
They're
really
not-
negative.
they're bad negative things that are gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he's
It's a
warning them to
warning,
be fear,
yeah.
not to let that fear take away what they're doing.
The focus.
He's finishing that with like, if these people, he who receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. Whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple, assuredly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. He's topping it off with love. I think that's a very important thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
You see a bunch of sad stuff, and then it's
No,
finishing off with good stuff.
I think
so.
it would be not a sad stuff. He's
Being
giving you
prepared.
the warning, but he's also topping it off with the hope,
Exactly.
the promise.
Yeah.
See, he has to tell you the warning.
No, for sure. No,
And
I get
then,
it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to leave on all the warnings.
Yeah.
There's a promise at the end of
Yes.
that there's a reward there.
And then that's kind of like the main topic of the Bible, right? Like it's a lot of warnings. This is going to happen,
Yeah.
persecution. There's going to be turmoil. There's going to things that's going to be happening in this world. But believe me, I am the door.
Yeah, there's
There's
good news.
There's good news.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. This is prepared for you.
Yeah.
Don't lose focus.
That's what I want. I wanted to end on the good news.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's not me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord, for the good news. And so, guys, like I said, we have lots of Bibles, and so ask for one if you need one. Most of the time we're at church every Sunday, so please join us. It's on J Street in Lathrop. It's called Lathrop Grace Community Church. And so we can also check us out on the church, Pastor Don, on the YouTube. I will link it. And so we just ask that you keep praying for us and
Yep.
just read your word, please.
Yeah.
Not for us, not for anything, but for yourself. Know that Jesus wrote this love story for you. And so read it, know it, because it will change your life.
Yep. All right. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.